Hey guys,
Jimmy?
what planet do Sith like to visit for a vacation?
Oh, God.
No.
Scare if.
Oh no. By far the worst one of the year.
Yeah, these aren't getting any better at all. We need something new.
Yes, welcome to Explore the Force, where we cover all things Star Wars. Surprise, surprise. I'm Jimmy, and as always, welcome back or welcome along if you're new.
And last but no means least, I'm Jack, and if you're joining us today for episode 140 and you get a chance, don't forget to give us a cheeky rating and like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Jimmy, 1 year older, how are we feeling?
Man, I'm gonna get into it during our Force encounters. But when I was a kid, I thought 50 would be a lot different. Just saying. Don't be afraid of getting older, folks. But no, I'm good. I feel blessed after this weekend. I think you do, as you get older, start to reflect, and it's been a long week of that for me. But I'll get into that in my Force encounters. How are you guys doing? Charlie, how's things going?
I'm doing good. I built 2 desks today. Obviously, I'll get into this in my Force encounters, but if you guys can see, there's an entirely different background going on. I'm in a different room of the house. It's been a busy day. I'm super tired, but I'm feeling super manly and super strong because I built 2 desks all by myself.
Nice.
Jack, how are you doing other than dying from the flu?
Yes, I'm doing very well. No, I'm not doing very well at all. I'm actually, like you said, I've got the flu and I'm dying. I'm already messing up a lot. This is like the second or third time now of recording this part of the show. So bear with us, folks. Hopefully it gets a lot better than it does sound it. But Charlie, talk to me. What interesting thing have you got for us this week? Let's get into it.
Before Jack goes delirious with fever, which I worry is what's happening, if he disappears, that's why. I have another tarot card pull for you guys because I really enjoyed doing that last week and it was super fun. So I have the deck spread, and we shall consult the cards. What are we thinking? We have the Empress, which is a really, really gorgeous painting of the wonderful Mon Mothma. Now, the Empress is about abundance, nurturing, creativity, fertility, and growth. This week is for nurturing. And you know what? Go and tell somebody that you haven't told in a little while that you love them. There we go.
I need nurturing. I'm dying with flu. That's what that's come out for. See? You're leaving the cards, folks. It's true. Right. Let's head over to this week's Force Encounters.
For my ally is the Force.
Guys, my Force Encounters this week is obviously clearly the amount of Star Wars stuff that you can see behind me over here. I am so excited to finally have the shelves done. Jimmy and I are kind of sharing a forcing, like we've got shelves, we're sorted, we're set up. I still need to light all of this behind me. Everything's getting like individual lighting in its each little box. And I think I might kind of move, there's Jar Jar down here, but I might move that up here. There's options. And to be honest, it's been really lovely to go through all of my Star Wars stuff and see just how much I've collected over the maybe nearly decade of collecting, kind of specifically for Star Wars. Now, this entire column on this side of me is all Star Wars. Everything from helmets to Funkos to figures to bits of Lego to necklaces to you name it, I've probably got it. And it's just been so nice to actually see it all and not see it all packed in boxes like it has been for months. So finally, the moving stage of house is coming to an end and I'm actually getting to enjoy it, which is why I'm up here tonight.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've had quite the Force encounters this week, being my birthday and everything. The mailman and I turning 50, and I have been showered with gifts and love, and just it was crazy. We had a get together on Saturday for my 50th with lots of friends. People I haven't seen in a while, given the job change and the not coaching stuff. Like a ton of people I
Nice.
hadn't seen in a while. So that was a lot of fun. And a lot of them come bearing gifts. And I've got so many just cool Star Wars things. My in-laws, they actually dropped they got me this painting. I think it's a painting or a drawing on, I obviously I have the artistic ability of a rock, so I don't know really what I'm looking at. I just know I like it. And it's when R2 meets R2 and Grogu meet in the Mando. So it's so like
Nice.
just given our topic for this week, I was just like, oh my gosh. And it's just beautiful. I wish I had space down here to put it up. But yeah, just and the funny thing is like, so my mommy sent me a gift for my 50th birthday. And
Ah.
what did someone send their son on their 50th birthday? Something serious, right? Something, some leather bound books or some, whatever. I
Something
got
mature.
the ATST UCS Lego set for my mommy. So again, being 50 or being 10, if you're a kid at heart, it does not change, folks. So don't be, I always tell my students, don't be in such a hurry to grow up because life can kind of suck sometimes. But Star Wars, you
Mhm.
guys, having you guys and Mike and everything, and just it just made me really appreciative of everything. And a lot of it's because of Star Wars, and yeah, it's just it was an emotional week. So, what about you, Jack? Do you have a good can you remember what your Force encounters are now that you're feverish? Because
Yeah, no. My Force encounters have been a bit weird as such because I've been extremely busy, like we all have with the potty stuff, and we've managed to bag a special guest, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So yeah, I've been very busy chasing people up, trying to get people on the show, etc.
Yes.
And so one in particular has agreed. They are coming on. Super, super excited about that.
And
So
I still can't believe I didn't know who I was talking to on the live show when they jumped into so
Mhm.
that's the end if people want to go back. But yeah, I was like, wait, who? And so
yeah,
I'm excited. Super excited.
very excited. So yeah, speaking of exciting things, there's been a lot of exciting news coming out this week. So let's head over to Batu and see what news is coming out of there.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, this sneak preview probably will be the only chance to see the Empire.
Big Lucas film leadership shakeup confirmed. Folks, Charlie and I did an hour on this on Friday. You can go check it out. We did post it on the YouTube or on the podcast as well. We have been living with this rumor, this speculation of Kathleen Kennedy stepping down. I don't think the three of us, we're not those like a hater of Kathleen Kennedy. Like we all have different opinions and they vary, but they're mostly neutral, I think, for the most part, I think. But anyways, Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down as president of Lucasfilm after nearly 14 years of leading the Star Wars franchise under Disney. That's a long time, folks. She'll shift to full-time producing while Dave Filoni takes over as president and chief creative officer, with Lin-Wen Brennan named co-president. You can check out last week's episode. Like we said, we also broke things down with about Lin-Wen, and she is a stud of studs.
Oh, yeah.
And I know there's going to be people out there who hate on her just because of who she is, what she is, I guess I should say. But if you look at her credentials, and we have, how excited are you guys for her to be in that position along with Dave? I think this is a great pairing.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect pairing as well. Totally agree, Jimmy. She's an absolute powerhouse, and like I said, make sure you check out last week's episode where we went through pretty much her credentials. Incredible. Finally, confirmation. It's been 2 years or so ongoing, and yeah, lots of interesting news falling out of it. How are you feeling about it all, Charlie?
I'm glad. Like, it's not that I'm glad to see Kathleen Kennedy go. I'm glad that she's going to be able to take a bit of a break, because that woman is in her 70s. She is in her retirement, her golden retirement years. Please go and enjoy that, babe. Like, go and chill, go and relax, go and do the things that you want to do instead of being like in the in the cooking pot of Star Wars, where you're under so much pressure, it feels like anybody would break. I appreciate that they've divided the leadership. I appreciate that it's a man and a woman. I think Lin-Wen is incredible. She's obviously done some fantastic and impactful work for Lucasfilm over the years, and this feels like such a wonderful reward for her. Like, over 30 years, this woman's put into this company, and this is absolutely everything that she deserves and more. And for her, like Jimmy said, I think it's so important that Dave gets to stay creative.
Yeah.
Massively so. And I'm hoping that she will be able to take some of those positions that would take away time from his creativity and his kind of making. But yeah, different. Interesting that we've known about this for 2 years. It's been being planned for 2 years, but the exact specifics, I'd be interested to kind of try and backtrack and find out where the first leak for this came from.
Yeah.
And just, it's all very interesting. But yes, I'm happy. Ultimately, I'm happy and excited.
Yeah, you mentioned Kathleen Kennedy's golden retirement years. She still isn't retiring. She's going into producing, so she's still not stopping. She's, let's say, just slowing down.
She's not even stopping with Star Wars. She's like going to be behind the scenes doing stuff for these next 2 films. Like, just bonkers to me.
Yeah, it's insane. In the wake of the Kathleen Kennedy interview as well, Rian Johnson has rebooted Kennedy's claims that he was spooked away from making any more Star Wars by taking to X and simply saying, lol, zero spooked, sorry. Thoughts on this? Where do you want to go with this? Go on, Charlie.
This was a surprise. Like, I always find it interesting when creatives kind of clash in this way of, well, this is what I thought about the situation, and then the person in question turns around and goes, actually, no, that's not accurate. I get the feeling Rian Johnson stepped away from Star Wars because they wouldn't let him make what he wanted to make, which is why his trilogy never ended up quite going the way that it was supposed to. And it seems like Star Wars especially has done a lot of reconvening, popping on the back burner, moving around with things, green-lighting something, pulling it back, green-lighting something else, and then pulling that back. It was maybe not the right choice of words. Spooked implies that, like, the fans put him off, and I don't think we've really seen that from any of the directors in Star Wars. Jimmy, go.
See, this is what I think. I think this is what we talked about on Friday. This is the stuff that people don't like about her. And I think she's like projecting her feelings about the movies that she was afraid to make onto Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson has, I mean, I liked all of his stuff he does. I mean, again, we know The Last Jedi does not work for me, but I still wanted to see his trilogy. I mean, it would have been awesome. You had no idea what was going to happen in it. Main characters die. It could have been like Game of Thrones type stuff, you know, like nobody's safe, Walking Dead, whatever. But in her interview with, was it Deadline? I think we covered. I can't remember what the interview was from, but she said multiple times that she was afraid of this, or this is a big leap and blah, blah, blah. And I just feel like she's like projecting her feelings of Star Wars and being afraid to push the envelope onto Rian Johnson, which is very weird to me. I feel like this interview has marred her in a way that even like someone myself who's neutral on her has got me leaning a little bit away from her now. I just feel like this was a terrible way to go out. Like, if this is her last interview as a leader of Star Wars, Lucasfilm, I think it was a terrible way for her to end. And then calling people out like that, like, why? Just be like, hey, Ryan's been super successful. He's had all these great things. He has his Knives Out series. He's got all this stuff going on. He's been busy. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm still mad about our talk on Fridays. So
no. Interesting take.
Jimmy is extra spicy today. So, Jimmy, I want to hear your take on this one then. There have also been claims floating around that the new head of Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni, did not like Andor. According to The Wrap, Filoni disliked Andor. Quote, the series, a stark spy thriller about how tyranny takes root, is unquestionably the greatest creative triumph of the Kathleen Kennedy era, the publication wrote in a recent report. I would have to agree. The report continued, it was also, according to an individual who worked inside Lucasfilm, a series that Filoni disliked. Now, these words have not come from the cowboy himself. In fact, in a recent podcast, Filoni actually praised Andor. He said the show is well done and that the creators did a phenomenal job. He added that there's an audience for this type of story, and this earlier statement shows that Filoni has spoken positively about the series before. Seems like there's some crossed wires and some fried power circuits going on, because I don't want to hear that he disliked Andor. That doesn't feel very Filoni-esque, in my opinion, from what I know of him as like a creator and a writer.
That's
And
not in his character. I don't believe that. I think it's either a
no,
typo or clickbait. I don't believe that.
yeah,
Why would you say that if you're about to get the become the the creative director as well?
I mean, James Gunn said that the Flash movie was one of the greatest movies he'd ever seen when he was about to take over DC. You say what you have to say, right?
oh,
And that might have been one of the worst
well,
movies ever made. But yeah, I hope this isn't true, because if it is true, that's a little scary for the future. I'm glad he's co-president, not president. Although, is he co-president? Is it going to say like, next week? I guess we'll find out on the Lucasfilm website, but
On his door.
what it says on his door. But there have been rumors what they're calling the cowboy hat Star Wars. I've heard this term.
mhm,
I've mentioned it a few times. I really hope this is untrue. We see him at celebrations and he's like, if I wasn't here, I'd be down there with you guys. And I believe that. So it's hard for me to believe. Maybe he didn't like the idea of it at first, like it didn't fit what he wanted it to do. And that's fine, because he is creative and he wants like, hey, I need this money to do this or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really hope that it's not true though, that he didn't dislike it, because that could speak a lot about what's happening in the future of Star Wars. That's a little concerning. But again, I think I agree with both of you, and I just don't think it's true, or maybe it was taken out of context
no.
or something like that. I hope. So
Who knows? We'll see. Changes everywhere.
yeah. I've had a lot of change in my life recently. All my football teams,
Yeah.
new coaches, Lucasfilm, everything that's important to me, a job. Like things just need to stable out. All right, let's just get with the programs, and then there's more change coming.
Mm.
I just can't take the change anymore. I'm just gonna get in a fetal position in the corner until everything stops changing. All right, so you need to find me. I'll be in the corner, sucking on my thumb, just curled up in a ball. Changes are happening at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland starting April 29th of this year. Yes, the park is getting an overhaul from going around the timeline of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. They're heading back more into the OT era because the sequels are I'm not going to read that. So the park is also having other updates, such as music updates from The Legend that is John Williams and more tie-ins for the Mando and Grogu film. Plus, there will be a Marvel comic release explaining how the Rebels and Empire got to Batuu. So yeah, I think this is this more about this 50th anniversary, or is this more about the sequels just not delivering?
So, yeah, it makes sense as well. Obviously, with the 50th coming up, etc. And I think it is obvious that the OT stuff probably is a bit more popular at the minute. You've got the Mando and Grogu stuff happening. Probably makes sense as well to sort of gear it towards that for people that go and watch the film. Then they can go to Galaxy's Edge, etc. But we'll see. So they're not getting rid of it completely. There's a lot more to it. They're going to sort of segregating it, where they've got the larger part of the park for the OT stuff and the sequel stuff. Wouldn't it be great if they expanded even more and had an era for the prequels as well?
They do. Anakin and Padme appear quite often. Bigger area, fair. All I can think about is that they're shoving my poor baby Rey into a little tiny corner of Galaxy's Edge. They're removing Kylo Ren, which sucks, and replacing him with Darth Vader, which I get, I respect it. And I always knew they were going to expand Galaxy's Edge to not just be like the Resistance era, and I think they're adding new chapters to Rise of the Resistance as well. Speaking of, I saw somebody's TikTok pop up on my For You page yesterday that marked, I think it's like 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years since Rise of the Resistance opened for the first time, and he was this person's TikTok was one of the first people to go on it when it opened. And this guy was in the parks at 2:30 in the morning the day before, and didn't get on the ride until 7:30 at night.
Wow.
Exactly. That is how popular. Even now, it is a fight to get on. People are up at the crack of dawn for that Disney park to open with their phone open, waiting for the lottery to select you and your little group are going on Rise of the Resistance. There are people who go for 2 weeks and don't get on Rise of the Resistance.
That's
Galaxy's
insane.
Edge is so popular. In fact, one of the most popular places where the sequels really are kind of loved and adored. And it does make me a little bit sad
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're trimming it down and moving it away and adding more bits. And
Any thoughts on this, Jimmy?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that they need to. I think like it could get stagnant. I know, like Charlie, like you said, it doesn't sound like it's
Yeah.
getting stagnant. Those rides
No.
are still there. What are they doing with Rise of the Resistance then? Like that seems like a pretty big overhaul if they're going to change.
I think
Or
they're
that's a
adding some
portion that's going to
bits.
stay.
I think they're adding new bits of story to it, and I think they're also adding original trilogy sections to the Millennium Falcon to Smuggler's Run as well.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you gotta find ways to get people to come back. And I know, like, I don't know. I wonder how much of their business is local because you get those people who just go to Disney every day, and then you got people who are flying out of the country. I mean, we were talking the other day. It's cheaper for us to fly to Japan to go to Disney than it is just to go to Disney down in Florida for me. And that shouldn't be the way it is. So, are they having a hard time getting fans? Maybe lower the prices. Who knows?
Mm.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy to me. I do think they should adapt, but I don't know. Like it's just I don't think we'll ever really know the reason. I'm sure it's got to be about the 50th though.
Yeah, potentially. Well, goodbye
Yeah.
to the sequel stuff. And speaking of goodbyes, king of segues, Diego Luna took the chance to say goodbye to the Andor series at the Golden Globes this week. Whilst he was there, he took the opportunity to say his final goodbye by saying this is the end. I'm really happy to be representing the show tonight. All the actors that should have been nominated. It's a wonderful cast, and I'm here to say goodbye. It's been 10 years of my life. Well, thank you to Mr. Luna, obviously an avid listener of the show, for all his hard work and dedication. Hopefully, we continue to see him at future Star Wars events. I think that's him now putting the whole Andor thing to bed. But what a run. 10 years as well to Star Wars. Incredible.
What a commitment. Like, what a joy to see him kind of represented and celebrated there. And yeah, in my opinion, it should have been the whole cast. It should have been Tony Gilroy. It should have been every single one of them upon that stage. But speaking of Andor, and the awards it maybe didn't receive. It did receive one award this week after receiving an impeccable Rotten Tomatoes score of 99.7% for the first season. Andor Season 2 has won the Golden Tomato for Best TV Series of 2025. Might not have been a Globe, but still something shiny and round, no?
Probably more impressive than a Golden Globe, to be honest, with the way the people are and the monsters that are online. Like people are so vicious online for you to survive. The internet is speaking volumes, I think, of how good the show is and has been. And I'm looking forward to us. When's a year out? Like how long has it been? When did this show come out? So we'll have to do a recap in a year or so.
April.
Yes.
April Season 2, yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, good for him getting that final dig in there too about all the actors that should have been nominated. I like that. Go out swinging, buddy. But yeah, that's impressive. 99.7 for the first season, and then winning the Golden Tomato. And that's up against some really big shows. So that's pretty awesome. Good for them. Star Wars Podcast Day 2026 returns for the 6th time to celebrate the launch of the first recognized Star Wars podcast, Jedi Talk, which launched back on the 7th of February, 1999. Today, the number of shows announced swells to 54, and we're honored here to explore the Force to be mentioned for the 3rd year running. So thank you to them and to the team for all their hard work and getting us on that show. So that's really exciting, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Yes, thank you to you all. Right, let's head into this week's main show.
All right, folks. I know we've kind of been down on Mando and Grogu, it seems like. So what we want to do is we want to interject a little of excitement, get us fired up, get y'all fired up. This week we're starting to build up to the Mando and Grogu, and what better way than to chat about our favorite seasons and our favorite episodes. So we're going to dive into that. I think we got a top 3 from each of us. And I may or may not slip in an honorable mention because I had a hard time whittling it down. But so yeah, let's get in there. Let's get hyped for Mando and Grogu. Like, I know we got to focus. We got to get focused.
Whoa.
I mean, it's 4 months away, man.
Not far at all. Yes, but before we start yapping on about ours, we set the question out to you, the amazing listeners and viewers, and these are your points on what you had to say. Start us off, Chuck.
Oh, go on then. Gary Scullion said his pick for his favorite Mando episode is Chapter 9, The Marshal. It's like its own movie and it's so fantastic. Season-wise, I think 2 has some incredible episodes, and as a whole, I think Season 1 might just take the top spot. But it's really, really close between 1 and 2 for me.
Nice. Johnny Tobin says he has to be Season 2. The finale was magical. That is going to be one episode difficult to beat. What else have we got, Jimmy?
Matt 1398 says when Boba came back, unbelievable scenes, and dare I say, absolute cinema.
Nice.
And Komal said Season 2, Episode 8, The Rescue is the best episode. We get the emotional stakes of Din doing anything to save his kid, Uncanny Valley Luke Skywalker, and Din removing helmet so Grogu can see his face before they supposedly part ways forever. I'm not a fan of them getting reunited in Book of Boba Fett, and I think they should have been apart longer, but I digress.
Yes, and our last comment comes from Bobby Robertson saying his favourite episode is the Jack Black one. He's not joking either because of all the droids in it. Quite a controversial episode, I'm sure we'll touch on before we go into ours.
That many droids, Bobby probably didn't even notice anything that was going on outside the droids. He's probably just locked in.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. So like we mentioned, then we're going to go through our top 3 episodes from each season, or top episode from each season, should I say. Starting off with Season 1. Jimmy, go for it. Start us off, buddy.
All right. So for me, this is my favorite episode of The Mandalorian. Like, I think this is better than anything. Chapter 3, The Sin, directed by Deborah Chow. The action in this, we got good action in the first episode, and I almost picked that one because it kind of set the tone. But I just remember I've watched when he goes back in to go get Grogu. Well, Baby Yoda at the time, I guess, right? Nobody knew what was going on. Although Baby Yoda was, I mean, it makes sense now. But just the action in that scene, the fact that we get to see the Mandalorians come in at the end of it, like that moment in that franchise, like it was everything we'd seen in animated series with Rebels and with Clone Wars. We know we've seen Mandalorians do cool stuff, but there's a lot of people that hadn't. So to see, as a fan of the Mandalorian lore, and then just to think about people who had never seen it, to see those Mandos come flying in on jetpacks and just laying wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got goosebumps just talking about it right now, just thinking about that. But then you get to see the Mando just wreck and shop. I wish they would have focused. I wish that would have been the focus moving forward, like just him just ripping things apart, because those first 3 episodes are so good. But yeah, that has to be my favorite. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited for the Kenobi series, was because of what a great job Deborah Chow did there. Now, in fairness to her, I do think that she got handcuffed a bit by COVID, and I would love to see her get a different kind of series, or wouldn't mind seeing her do some more Mando episodes, some action scenes, because she tore that episode up. I remember seeing the behind the scenes at what's that show called when they sit down and they talked about the seasons. It was like The Gallery or something like that.
Yeah, The Gallery.
They're like, she's like, I need more stormtroopers. Give me more stormtroopers. Like, she's killing everybody and all those bounty hunters and stuff. So yeah, that episode 3, The Sin by Deborah Chow, is gonna be my favorite for Season 1.
Nice, strong shout. Charlie, what have you got?
Oh, now listen, I do think, just before we start, that Season 1 is probably my favorite season of all time. I love all of the episodes. However, I know this might seem a bit cliche and a bit of an easy answer, but it does have to go to Chapter 1, The Mandalorian. I cannot say this clearly and plainly enough. That single episode, is a masterclass of Star Wars.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It feels modern, fresh, new, and unique, whilst also feeling authentic and realistic and genuine and respectful to the source material. It is. We are introduced to a character. There is so much show, not tell in this episode, and it is absolutely beautiful. I love that they chose to make the Mandalorian a relatively kind of mute character, bar sort of he only speaks if it's necessary to speak. And so we get to really enjoy kind of a shout out to you, Brendan. We get to really enjoy kind of his physical body acting and interpret so much of his character from that, whilst also knowing nothing. We're expected to go hand in hand with a main character that we don't know what he looks like. We don't really know what he's like as a person, what his voice sounds like. All we know is what he cares about is job and credits. And yet, lo and behold, this wonderful, innocent little life appears and his whole world is flipped upside down. We get the iconic Werner Herzog line of, "I want to see the baby." Amazing. Meme worthy. Absolutely rocked the internet for like months and months and months. This episode set the Star Wars community on fire, and it was everything that we needed at a time when Star Wars was feeling so dead and so low and so empty. And like Jimmy said about the third episode, I'd not seen, like, none of us had really seen Mandalorians IRL other than maybe cosplayers or like the animated series. And I didn't get any of this. And suddenly it's just a masterpiece. Absolutely directed by Dave Filoni, obviously. Written by Jon Favreau. Mwah, perfection.
Strong start. I was going to go with chapter 1 as well. Again, just echoing the reasons that Charlie's gone with, but yeah, it reignited the flame for a lot of people. Reignited the flame for Star Wars. Just seeing the new things, the new costumes, the new Star Wars, the Western style of Star Wars. You know, that's always been spoken about coming to life. Even the little things like the bounty hunt. I think what the Mandalorian was is what a lot of people wanted the book of Boba Fett to be like. In my opinion, I think that's probably why it didn't do it as well as people thought. But yes, and then the Grogu thing again, massive game changer. They would have known how big that was going to be, especially merchandise. It's literally everywhere, even beyond Jimmy. It's there.
What is Star Wars like in 2026 without this first episode, without the Mando? I know, again, we've been like, oh, ho-hum, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but what is Star Wars? What's the, because the movies haven't been universally received. Like where are we at with Star Wars without this episode, without this series? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we'll talk about it leading up to the movies and stuff, but I think people overlook that. Because I was going to pick episode 1 too because of all the promise, everything that you got. It broke the internet. I mean, it broke Disney Plus.
Massively.
I
woke up.
It did.
I woke up at 5 a.m. on a school day to watch it because I didn't want it ruined for me. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the people who got to see it before it crashed the servers when everyone hopped on. So it was huge. Like this is like seeing Star Wars in the theater for the first time. Like that's how important this episode is.
That's how big it felt at the time.
Yeah, and it set the benchmark. There were so many things it did right in that first 40 to 45 minutes. Again, with Grogu stuff, memes, you've got a new saying, "This is the way." Again, that was huge. Going back, I think what it did remarkably well was the subtle nod, or no, it wasn't really subtle to be honest, but the nod to original trilogy fans, the old school fans, seeing those stormtroopers back again, seeing the Empire still there back again, which is again what people have been craving for, to see what's happened to the Empire. That's even before we got the backstory about the Mandalorian.
Yeah, no, awesome start to a series.
Yes,
incredible.
Amazing.
Also,
Now back to go on, Charlie. Sorry.
No, sorry. I just remembered. First, the whole thing with the blurgs and "I have spoken." I love me. I'm like a hardcore Babu Frick fan, so I'm a really big fan of like small, weird alien creatures that have interesting speaking quirks. Amazing.
Yeah, bringing Ugnaughts into.
Also, exactly. And the juxtaposition of the first introduction of Mando we get in that episode is him coming in, cool as a cucumber, John Wayne, gunslinging, hip popping, grabs this guy and yanks him onto the ship, and then he can't ride a blurg. Like the juxtaposition of a character that you think is kind of immediately untouchable and is the coolest cat in the alley, and actually he's kind of rubbish and kind of useless because he's still got some lessons to learn.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Amazing, brilliant episode.
So much in that episode too, because that's IG-88, right? Or IG-11.
Yeah.
I mean, we get
Yeah.
IG-11 for the
IG-11,
first time, so we're introduced to Taika Waititi as a droid. The I Have
Amazing.
Spoken thing too. They've done such a terrific job of like weaving that into Star Wars, because if you read the High Republic, one of our heroes, she teams up with an Ugnaught, and he's like, I have spoken, and you're just like, and it just feels like it's been there for 50 years. You know, they did such a great job of just kind of, you know, weaving that stuff in there. R.I.P. Quill. But yeah. So, and then Nick Nolte as a Star Wars character, I remember the buzz behind that was so funny. So yeah, great first episode.
Yeah. For me, for season 1, I'm going to go for the last episode, so chapter 8, Redemption, directed by Taika Waititi, as well, written by John Favreau. But again, for me, it was the big reveal of the Darksaber. That was huge. Like, people if you haven't seen Rebels wouldn't understand, I don't think, how big of a reveal that was. But those that watch the Rebel stuff, the Clone War stuff, you know, that is a huge deal in the Star Wars universe. And it's still barely scratched the surface, I feel, as well, with that Darksaber. The Scout Trooper scene as well, where they're smashing Grogu in the bag. Again, don't condemn violence.
Of course you'd like that.
Jason Sudeikis as a Scout Trooper punching the baby.
I thought that was hilarious. IG-11's redemption arc, you know, it's melting away. And again, you've had that massive build-up about the Mandalorian. He finally takes his helmet off. You know, he starts talking as well, so he can get the medical treatment, etc. But yeah, the ending as well. Obviously, he goes off Navarro. You know, he's no longer a bounty hunter as such. But you know, we find out that he's going to be taking Grogu to his people, the Jedi. And again, it's a massive. What's the word I'm looking for here? Segue into the universe that is the Mandalorian. Again, it's absolutely huge. You know, you've just been told about a Darksaber, you've seen it, and now you know that Grogu is something to do with the Jedi. If you didn't already confident with the Force, go on, Jimmy.
Do you feel like that Darksaber? I mean, I remember seeing that blade pop up through the TIE fighter, and I was like, no way. Like, to me, in a way, that's kind of a bigger reveal than certain things that happen in season 2 that I will get into. But like, that has such a way of bringing animation to the forefront of the importance of it, because that's the only place we'd ever gotten that. And what a smart move on their part, because you know people were scrambling to try to figure out what the hell is that lightsaber. You know what I mean? And you find out all this stuff, and you go in and you can find Rebels, and you can find the Clone Wars, and it just making that, like, that Darksaber bridged the stories for me, and really kind of connected all that stuff. And I knew we were in for it after that. Like, I mean, you're riding that wave of the Mando, and it was pretty good every week. And then that happens, and I mean, I'm jumping out of my seat, just like, what? That can't be. And then he's just standing there with the Darksaber in his hand, and then it's like over. You're like, what the heck? So yeah, that's a huge moment in Star Wars as well.
Cool. Right, season 2 then. In fact, before we go to season 2, anyone got any honorable mentions for season 1? Any other standout episodes?
I think you guys nailed them for one and the final one. And
yeah.
Cool. Right, Charlie, we're going to start with you. Season 2. What's your favorite episode of season 2? What have we got?
So initially I was going to say the kind of last episode of the season, for obvious reasons. Like, the Star Wars has only made me properly ugly cry, and by that I mean tears, snot, sobbing, shoulder shaking, like inconsolable, like grief-racked sobbing, like 3 times in my life. Once at the death of Han Solo in the cinema in The Force Awakens. Secondly, when Bimo gets nearly trampled in season 1 of Andor, when Marva goes fight the Empire and the rebellion starts. That made me very distressed. And when Luke Skywalker appears in the last episode of season 2 of them, because there was no way I could have been prepared for this in any way, shape, or form. But I also knew, but I also didn't know. And it took me by such surprise that the sheer ignition of his lightsaber was enough to have me collapsed on the floor and like ugly sobbing. Like, it was instantaneous. But actually, when I think about it, my favorite episode is probably chapter 11 of The Heiress, solely for one reason and one reason only. The icon, the legend, the WWE wrestler, Sasha Banks, or as she's now known in AEW, Mercedes Moné, I didn't think, usually when wrestlers transition into acting, John Cena and Triple H, I'm looking at you for your bad, horrible movies. Usually it doesn't go so great. And I think because she's such a huge Star Wars fan and she took it so seriously and so intensely and ends up being probably one of my favorite characters in season 2, like hands down. We don't see a lot of her, but what we do is incredibly cool and incredibly like rude word. She's just really cool, and her and like all of the Bo-Katan stuff. I like Bo-Katan. I fancy Bo-Katan a little bit. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Don't we all?
Oh, that beautiful lady. It's the orange bob. Nobody pulls it off like she does. It just it just ended up being a really, really fun episode, and I'm obsessed with watching Sasha Banks's character eat that octopus. Like I can't get over it. It's so weird. Also, a Mon Calamari planet where all of their jumpers were hand knitted by a bunch of ladies in the Hebrides Islands in like authentic ways that would have been done by like fishing people is so cool and crazy to me. But yeah, this episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and it shows it's probably one of her best ones and one of my favorites.
Crushes
Yeah,
it.
no, fair. I'll start us off on this one, Jimmy, and then you can go last on
Yeah,
this
of course.
as well. So for me, it'd be chapter 13, The Jedi.
Yeah, let's
again,
go.
for
Ooh.
big reasons being, it's our first live action show of Ahsoka. Again, another quiet, under the radar sort of moment, I think, for some Star Wars fans. But seeing Ahsoka live action, Rosario Dawson, was a definite sign of things to come. Because obviously at that stage, rumors were abound about Ahsoka season 1, etc., or happening. And whatnot, and I thought it was pulled off really well. Also, we got our first glimpse of the amazing Morgan Elsbeth. Again, this episode directed and written by Dave Filoni, absolute master at the craft. And also, there's plenty of action in this, lots of stuff going on. Again, seeing Ahsoka with those lightsabers in live action. Again, don't condone violence, but there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of things going on. So for me, chapter 13, The Jedi.
Nice.
So were you, sorry, Jack, I'm going to pick your brains for a sec. Were you a fan of Ahsoka before this episode came out?
Yeah, I used to love Ahsoka in Clone Wars as well. Yeah.
How did you feel about the transition from animation to live action? Do you feel like Rosario Dawson kind of took it and did it? Jimmy,
Yeah, I
shush.
thought it absolutely got pulled off because again, we watched Ahsoka as a young, I say Padawan, growing up, obviously all the way up to the codename Fulcrum in Rebels, and then when we finally saw her in live action, how can I put this politely? She'd chunked out, she'd grown up, she looked like an adult Ahsoka, in my opinion. Yes, she didn't quite have the tone voice sort of thing going, but again, she's grown up, she's moved on, she's been through things. And I thought they pulled it off really, really well.
Nice. Jimmy? No. Interesting.
My first take on this, I was so mad at this episode. I remember being pissed when it was over. Like, I'm like, that's not Ahsoka, and it has grown on me. And it's actually by my honorable mention for this one. Like, this is out of the top 3. I did pick this because the more I've watched it and the more I've seen Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, you can go back and you can see this now. And you're like, okay, so that's her. That's Ahsoka. I still think what I don't understand is like, we hear that there's even better Leku and stuff like that. And this is nitpicky, but like, they should have done it right in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Like they should have had her Leku should have been whatever they're going to use in season 3. I mean, there's cosplayers out there who've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Like go talk to these people. Like these people, it's not their full-time job, but it is their full-time, it's their full-time passion. And so that really bothered me. Like I just didn't feel like I loved her look, but I didn't love the Leku. Yeah. And again, it was, I'll be honest with you, and again, I like to admit my faults and when I was wrong, but hearing her talk really threw me at first. Like it was it honestly is still a struggle not hearing Ashley Eckstein voice. I mean, obviously you have Rosario Dawson, you don't need to do the voice, but like I struggled for probably the first year of this. I can remember another podcast that Jack and I used to listen to. I wrote in, was one of my monthly things, is like I just couldn't get behind it. You know what I mean? Like I was really struggling with the fact that everyone loved this episode and I couldn't get into it at the time. Now, again, it has grown on me. It's become one of my favorites. I do think that calling it the Jedi was kind of dumb, especially the fact that she is no Jedi. It should have been like the Ronin or
point.
the Boken Jedi or something.
Yeah.
I know they called it the Jedi probably just to get people's interest, but I had some issues with it when it first came out, but it has grown on me to the point where it just missed my top 3 overall. So, but I
Fair.
really struggled with it.
Fair points. Fair points.
Um,
So what you got for your top one then, Jimmy?
I went with the rescue, and not for the reason everybody thinks. All right, I know everyone's like, "Oh, it was the Luke Skywalker." Like that was so much fun. You know, you see this X-wing, and you're like, "Oh my!" And then you see, you know, and it's all in black and white, so you can't tell. And all of a sudden, the green lightsaber, and your mind melts. You're like, "Holy rip!" You know, like that's so cool. I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but my favorite thing about this episode, and it's coming off of like Endgame and was it Infinity War and then Endgame, right? How it went, in the Marvel series. I felt like in Endgame we had that scene with all the women superheroes kind of forced down our throats. And if you think about this, that scene with Cara Dune, Fennec Shan, you have Bo-Katan. Is your girl, is Sasha in that too? Is
Yeah,
she in there?
I think so.
They just go to town, and it's not about them being women, it's about them being warriors. And I don't know why that, like, but it's just like, I mean, they just did it, and it wasn't like, oh, look, all these women just did this. It was like these badass Star Wars characters, these bounty hunters, these Mandalorians, like they all just went to town and did what they did. They all work so well together. I mean, I'm like, I want that series. I want to see them just going and laying waste to folks. And it wasn't, I just thought it was done so well. I was so angry with how it was done in Infinity War. Now I thought that I'll give Endgame credit. Oh wait, no. Which one was first? The one where they fight.
Last one.
Yeah, so Endgame I thought was forced on us. Infinity War or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I thought they did a pretty good job there because it wasn't really forced. There was just a couple of them. And then that one. But I don't know. I just thought that this was like they seamlessly let these women characters just do what they're supposed to be able to do. You know, and all this time of people hating on Rey and all this stuff because she's American, you know. And nobody complained about it because they did such a good job with it. And I just think that it shows like you need to put some effort into it. You don't have to beat us over the head with it, but it can really be appreciated when it's done well. You know, you don't even think about it. Like you didn't even think about like these 4 women just went to town on this. Like they just crushed this. You know what I mean? They didn't need a man. They didn't need this, whatever. Like they're equal warriors. They're equal everything. And so for me, that, you know, obviously, you know, the parts with, you know, with Luke and stuff was pretty cool. But I really thought that just kind of spoke volumes on how Peyton Reed, the director, how good of a job he did with that. You know, I know maybe silly people I think I'm crazy for that being the reason, but I was so put off by what happened at the end of that Marvel movie, by it trying to be forced, you know, and it just flowed so well and was so cool. I really wanted to see more of it. So, yeah, that's going to be for me. Is going to be The Rescue, Chapter 16, directed by Peyton Reed, and not because of Luke Skywalker. It doesn't hurt that Luke Skywalker shows up, but you know, I don't know. I love that scene with those ladies, man. They tear it up.
They do indeed. They do indeed. Right, season 3. I'll start us off. Again, this is sort of going down that route as well. It's not really for the obvious. So season 3, chapter 23, The Spies, written by John Favreau and Dave Filoni, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. I think it's pronounced. Might have butchered that as normal, but we'll see. Essentially, the Mandos go on to the base to try and rescue Grogu or get to the Moff Gideon. Obviously, there's a massive battle. Long story short, spoiler alert, Paz stays behind. We see the Praetorian Guards walk out. Now, again, for me, where I was at Celebration London, sat next to the obvious, watching this, it was like being in a cinema. And I'll never forget the silence when those Praetorian Guards walked out after we've just watched Paz absolutely kick butt against some of the Imperial commandos. And you just knew his time was going to be over, and they made swift work of him, let's say. But it was a hero's ending, I thought. But yeah, for me, for that episode, because I was sat where I was, where we all was as well, watching it, it was an experience, wasn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had gotten to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, it was insane.
Jack, the whole time. That was funny because like Jack and I were just really kind of getting to know each other then. this is before the podcast started. That's kind of the reason the podcast got started.
Wow.
And Jack's like, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I can't tell you." I'm like, "Tell me." He's like, "No." And I was just, and then nobody would tell us. Like nobody, everyone was like, "No, you just got to see it." And yeah, so it's exciting.
Oh, that's nice though.
Yeah,
It was
pretty
insane.
awesome.
And just like we're sat with about 500 other Star Wars fans. Exclusive look before it was released the day after. Sorry, the day before. And it was just insane. And again, it's just that cinema feeling of Star Wars where it belongs again in the cinema. Feeling the emotions of everybody, on screen performances were all fantastic. The action was there. It was just, 10 out of 10. So for me, it's going to be chapter 23, sorry, The Spies. Right, Charlie, we'll finish with Charlie. Jimmy, what have you got?
I have chapter 17, The Apostates by Rick
Nice.
Famuyiwa or Famu. Yeah, I'm also going to have a hard time with his last name.
Famuyiwa, I believe.
Famuyiwa. Rick
All right.
Famuyiwa.
Rick Famuyiwa. I think he's awesome. That so famously, I don't think season 3 is very good. And they kind of lost. They just kind of went off the rails. And I don't know, this episode should have maybe pointed me in that direction, but it also like gave me so much hope. And I just rewatched it before we came down because I was struggling to find an episode in season 3 that I like. There are parts in every episode that I really enjoy, but then there were so many that I was just like, what is happening? I was pretty disconnected from this series. I know we're going to do rewatch of all of it, but I'm excited for that. But I thought, because it starts out with the opening, it has like the Mandalorian lore. So they're getting ready to bring that kid into the, he's getting he put on his bucket and this is the way. And then all of a sudden that big giant scary crocodile thing comes out and crocodile dinosaur. And you have all that happens. And then that happens. Mando shows up. He gets his quest. So you know what the quest is. And he heads to Navarro. Navarro's brand new. It's a brand new place. Grief Karga, the scoundrel, comes out and he's in the high magistrate dressed like a king. Reminding everyone he is the high magistrate, not just the magistrate. We get introduced to our friend Vane, so and then it jumps to there's so much in this episode. Then we get Anzellans with IG-11, so the concept of IG-11's coming back, or at least they're trying that, and so he gets his second. I mean, after this like a video game, like you have this quest, now you have this side quest, you got to do this side quest before you can go to this quest, and it felt like a video game. And then you get Grogu in hyperspace, and he looks out and you see this whale, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a Purgle, right? And you're like, it's so big, and then all of a sudden these massive, like and they do that scale shot where they zoom back out and you see this tiny little Naboo starfighter and you see these whales traveling in hyperspace, and I was like, that is incredible. Again, just those tie-ins to the animation. And then I think it ends with him going to Bo-Katan, and it introduces another planet, some more lore. Bo-Katan sitting there just chilling on her throne, all pissy and angry. And of course, some Bo-Katan's never a bad thing. And you're just like, man, this season's gonna be nuts. Like, this is gonna be this is gonna be the best season ever. And then we got what we got, and it was probably, in my opinion, the worst season ever. But this had such hope, and it felt so Mandalorian, what I mean? It felt so like the first 2 seasons. My expectations probably spiked whenever I saw this episode for the first time. And that's in like 32 minutes of filming, right? Because that was only 37 minutes long, and they jammed all of that stuff into 30 minutes. And I mean, it was like bam, 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 bam. And then from that, we even got Gorian Shard in this too. We had an encounter with pirates. We had an awesome battle on space. We had an awesome showdown. I mean, there was so much in 30 minutes. And then it's just like they forgot what they were doing. So from that point on, it just was like, what are we doing again? What are we filming? Which one of these stories are we talking about today? Like, it was just nuts how it just kind of came off the rails from this point. So, but this episode, what high hopes. It got me fired up. Like I said, I watched it before we came down here. I was just like, yeah, let's go. I forgot about this episode. So.
And here we are now. Charlie, what about you?
Oh, so like the two of you, season 3 wasn't exactly my fave for reasons that I won't go into because we're keeping the vibes happy and positive. However, my favorite episode from this season, yay! My favorite episode from this season has to be chapter 3, The Convert. If
Ooh.
people need a quick refresher, we've got kind of the parallel stories of like Bo-Katan becoming a Mandalorian again, and then Dr. Pershing being kind of tricked into falling down to the dark side again. And what I find really interesting is you have kind of this
That's a good
parallel
one.
of two stories of characters joining a cult, basically, and one of them is could maybe be argued to be a good cult, and one of them is definitely a bad cult. And I particularly enjoy the time with Dr. Pershing and Elia Kane, Katie O'Brien's character. There's something about their dynamic together that I really enjoy. I think Katie O'Brien is a wonderful, wonderful actor. She's incredibly talented. The layers to her performance, specifically in this episode, we get cozy Coruscant time, we get travel biscuits, we get drinking with friends, we get amnesty housing, we get this really interesting kind of reprogramming idea that they're trying to cure people of being part of the Empire when actually no, it's just one big cover up so that the Empire thus continues. Omid Adhabi, who plays Dr. Pershing, is also fantastic. He's
Epic.
meek and anxious and curious. And I remember he spoke in an interview about how this episode really helped him connect with his son about Star Wars. And his son like gets
Yeah.
really excited now and is like, that's daddy in Star Wars. And that's so cute. The whole story with Bo-Katan where she's like she's fighting becoming a Mandalorian, and Mando's there like, yeah, but you bathed in the living waters, so you're a Mandalorian now. Sorry, those are the rules. And yeah, it's just it's getting tense, it's getting juicy, it's setting things up for the next few episodes. And there's also the whole like we come into the episode with Mando coughing and spluttering and having nearly died, and Bo-Katan is sat on the fact that the mythosaur is real, and you think she's gonna tell him somewhere in this episode she's gonna just be like, hey, so the
Yeah.
mythosaur is real. No. And I love that little kind of thread of tension that runs through. It's a very, very tense episode, obviously, because like Pershing sneaking around and Eli's telling him that, yeah, you can carry on with your cloning, you can do all of this. It's good dual storytelling. It's something that I really,
Yeah.
really enjoy in TVs and movies when you've got two characters and you're following their story, but kind of switching back and forth. Directed by Lee Isaac Chung, written by Noah Claw and Jon Favreau. Fab. Probably absolutely hands down my favourite episode of the whole season. I want one of those little glowy lollies that they eat in Coruscant. I need it. I don't know if you guys have this with food in like fantasy universes and worlds. Like,
Yeah.
the
The
design,
blue
I
mix,
need it.
yeah.
I need it.
Fair shout. Awesome. So that probably it wraps it up for our favorite episodes.
Mhm.
In terms of favorite season, again, it's got to be season 2 for me, just for the mentions that I mentioned about. Charlie, go on.
Season 1
for you. Jimmy, season 1 for you.
Yeah, it's got to be season 1. I mean, you think about when we talked about episode 1, we talked about episode 3, we talked about the lore that it starts. Like season 1, just oh my gosh, like how rewatchable Star Wars, man. Season 1
Yeah.
all day long for
Comfort
me.
watch.
So yeah, and season 2 is pretty good. Season 3, I mean, in fairness, I need to go back because sometimes when we stream stuff, it's not as good as when you can binge it. Like I've seen that with because like in Acolyte, whenever you could watch it and whatever. I just thought it kind of flowed better, but yeah, definitely episode or season 1 for me as far as that. And I know it was kind of a joint effort coming up with this topic today because Jack, you were like, let's do a top 3 of, and then we're like, okay, of what? And I'm like, all right, let's do Mando. But I'm kind of fired up for Mando and Grogu right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is exactly what I needed.
Here.
I hope you guys and I hope the listeners are feeling what I'm feeling because, like, I've been pretty down about the movie. Like, I'm like looking past it to 2027, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to miss that ride to Mando and Grogu. You know what I mean? Like, we sit here looking at the future, and what was it, Yoda? He says, like, you need to look like right in front of, life's happening right now. You got to live through it. So like, I'm going to make a point of it moving forward till we get to Mando and Grogu in May, just to enjoy the ride, enjoy everything. And again, it's not that I'm like, don't want to see it. I was a little bit more hyped for something else, but this conversation with you two has got me fired up and ready to go, and a lot more
Yay.
optimistic about the potential of what this movie could be. So I'm really excited. So thanks for indulging me on this topic, and thanks for coming up with it, Jack.
Not
Yeah,
a
nice
problem.
one, Jack.
Hopefully the viewers and listeners have also enjoyed what you've been listening to. If you have any questions or just want your voice heard, then DM us on our socials or send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family, and to follow us on all our social media platforms. All you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out exploretheforce.com.
Oh, yeah, we have a website. I keep forgetting. Also, if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head on over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And a massive thank you to everyone interacting with us via our social media, our Discord, our Instagram. You guys keep this podcast amazing.
Yeah, and speaking of The Mandalorian, we wouldn't have this sign-off phrase that I've been using for the last 3 years without The Mandalorian. So finally, you've been listening or watching Explore the Force, and we have spoken. See y'all next week.
Bye-bye.